Hi, everyone. It's Jonathan Corrie. Welcome along to the next in our Precursive podcast series, which will be available both online via video, but also obviously downloadable via our podcast. I'm delighted today to be joined by the infamous and wonderful Ziv Peled from AppsFlyer. So say hi, Ziv.
Hi, and thank you for having me.
Oh, no, absolutely. Delighted to have you on. So thank you for taking the time to join us. So what we do in these conversations is we're really looking to explore some of I think the most important topics in customer success and more broadly, just in business and relationship management, something which I know that you're very passionate about. So as we get into it, just to begin with, can you give us a little bit of background to who is AppsFlyer for those that don't know, and then in turn a bit about the scope of your role, if you don't mind.
Cool. So AppsFlyer, we founded the company in 2011. I joined 2013. We provide attribution analytics for marketeers.
Mm-hmm.
We started from mobile attribution, and in the end, any marketeer that invests budgets in marketing and acquires new users and try to get payers, they want to understand the journey. But the beginning, the main question is where this user comes from. What should we attribute that user to? So
Okay.
The big question is, what was the main campaign that drove that user to install the app,
Mm-hmm.
or to then purchase something in the app, or to then go to the website and buy again. So you want to understand the entire journey, and this is what AppsFlyer in a nutshell.
Okay.
And about me and my role, when I joined the company, I was both customer success and a support engineer, one of the first two customer success managers, and the employee number 7.
Wow.
We're now 945 people across 18 offices. And today I oversee customers at all, the whole. So customer success, customer support, the knowledge base, a few analysts groups for customers,
Mm-hmm.
and in total 210 people in 13 offices. So
Okay.
very, very.
So a few things to be keeping you busy and interested then.
For sure.
So with regards to your customers, is that typically consumer brands, larger consumer brands that are your customer base? Tell us a little bit about the customer base. Who uses AppsFlyer?
So the customer base it's actually everything in this conversation. When we'll talk about the different years,
Mm-hmm.
I think that the best approach or best strategy was that we want, like, our main goal is market share. We always wanted to work with all customers. And I think when you speak about SaaS, B2B SaaS, then if you have a product for everyone, that's what you must do. Because in the end, the very early customers that we had in 2013, 2014, and we gave them a white glove, eye touch, the best service that we could, some of those customers grew to be very big companies.
Yep.
That they are the VIPs of today, but they remember the 6-7 years that we invested in them, the relationship that we developed with them, and I think that it's a very, very important play for a B2B SaaS, mission critical solution.
Okay.
You must invest in all segments. If you look at the 2020, so of course we are now on the go-to market, on the more proactive sales. We are going on the bigger brands, on the and even there's a nice segmentation, and I think it's also a little bit related to COVID-19, where you look at the mobile first companies like the Ubers, and then the more legacy companies that are new to mobile or coming to mobile. So you see those blends as well. So even companies like HBO, which is we work with the very mobile first department, but it's the company that sold to cable operators before, and now they in the last few years they sell directly to the consumer.
Yep.
And I think that, I think that one of the biggest values for us as a company is what we learn in that process of these 7 years, 8 years in.
Yeah.
We learn a lot around that, and we can speak about that as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that learning journey for any business is if you've had the opportunity to come in very early on. I mean, I speaking for myself, that was one of my experiences in helping to found this business. Seeing that evolution, because where the journey starts and where it ends, it's sometimes two very different places. And as you say, markets change and the companies that you serve change and evolve. So I think one of the things that we've been, everyone is aware of, we're all living in a very different world, the COVID-19 world. In this new remote reality, what do you see as the role of customer success now in this world? And how do you think customer success needs to evolve?
Yeah, so I'll start from very high look at that. So I think first of all, the shift, the very fast shift that in most countries around March to work from home, I think that was very, very easy for customer success, because I say to many people, so before COVID, we worked remote from the office. So, most of our engagements are over Zoom already, were already over Zoom. So for us, the change was not huge. I think that if we speak about the current 3 to 6 months, then I think that the focus is really about the word empathy, to understand the customer, to understand when we speak a lot about the relationship. So to understand the people that we communicate with, the people that we have relationship with, because in the end, when I sell to HBO or Alibaba or Walmart, I don't have a relationship with Walmart. My relationship is with someone specific that I work with, 5, 6 people that I work with in Walmart. And when I say customer empathy, it's not empathy only to Walmart and their situation now in COVID-19, is to understand the campaign manager that I work with in Walmart. And I think that's customer success. And when we speak about the evolution of the definition of customer success, is to really understand that in the end, it's not an account in Salesforce, it's a contact. And it's not a company empathy, it's an empathy with a person. I think that the best way for me to describe it, or to explain my vision and practice, is that, like, in the end, in 2.5, 3 years, that contact probably will not work in Walmart. And if we build a very good relationship, which is one-to-one CSM to that specific individual, so they might want to work with us again. And 100%. That's the B2B SaaS customer success play.
Yeah, and perhaps underappreciated by some is that you're as a CSM or in customer success, you're investing time in that relationship. Your customer is as well. One of the comments from another customer was this: they're putting their relationship capital on the line with you and with your business, because internally, the value that they derive from your product or service reflects on them. So I think this keeping that relationship at the center of one's thinking is really important. I think one of the things that we see in customer success is there's a lot of talk around customer success and churn, right? And reducing churn. Now, anyone that understands the unit economics of SaaS understands how important that is, particularly as you scale and grow. Talk to us a little bit about how you can nurture more of a growth mindset, because being too defensive and obsessing over defense means that perhaps you're not being, you're not focused on growth enough. So how can you really nurture that growth mindset, and how do you do that with your team?
Cool. So I'll try to touch two things that you asked here. So one, I'll tell you what I think about churn and how I think we should tackle it. And then I'll touch also the growth, or I like to speak the investor language in negative churn.
Mm.
So when we speak about churn, so I think that like if someone says I'm fighting churn or my focus is to retain customers, then I don't really understand what they do. So I think that like it's very reactive, and churn is a result. It's like to say I'm fighting car accidents, but like you know, what you need to do in order to prevent car accidents is actually the focus. So preventing churn is to design a very good process for pre-sales to understand what customers wants to achieve, is to have a beautiful and the most effective onboarding that I said for a few times that the onboarding is the honeymoon of customer success, is the honeymoon of B2B SaaS. If you have a very good onboarding, the rest is going to be very good. The onboarding is what you really remember. And then if you go into adoption and later, in the end, you always need to keep in your day-to-day knowledge is that, again, what are those desired outcomes of this customer? What do you want to achieve? And what is our progress with that? Did we achieve that? Can we achieve that? Do we need to do more in order to achieve that? So that's one. Second, value realization, or I'd call it continuous value realization. As a CSM, can I really say that I believe, that I feel, that I know that this customer really understands the value that we provide them? And then relationships. So if we have all those, then churn will be very low. Again, there's more dimensions here. The product needs to be good. It has to work. There's so many things. But that should be the focus. The focus is the journey until adoption, until the renewal, and not focusing on churn and how to save churn and stuff. When I think about the growth part of that, and I think customer success for me, as I look at that as a leader in a SaaS B2B company, I think that the customer success is the growth arm of the company. Sales is very transactional. It's a salesperson has a goal, they have a quota. They need to, in this quarter, they need to close 2, 3, 4 deals that will yield X amount of ARR in the first year. A customer success manager needs to work and build a relationship and provide value to a company for 10 years, for 20 years, that the ARR, then it's, and we know how to calculate compounding. That's compounding ARR. And that's the focus of the company. And then if the customer success identify in AppsFlyer non-premium value and a premium value and indicates that and indicates upsells of premium value, and then sales goes and upsell that and indicates that he sold, that he presented and explained to customers the non-premium value, then we get customers progress on value, and that produces growth.
Talk to us a little bit about how you divide that non-premium value and premium value, because that might be a new concept to some people that are listening. It's the language that companies use can be quite different. So just unpack that a little bit more.
But bottom line, when I speak with VPs of customer success, or sometimes VPs of product or CEOs, I always tell them, like in different stages, but now I'm speaking about a startup in the, let's say, a small or mid-sized startup. They need to look at their offering and see what currently, in their current status, what are they selling to companies? What are they selling to their customers? And usually it's like seats and license. And then I ask them, and next year, what will be your growth? What can you sell them more? So it's more seats, more licenses. That's not enough for B2B SaaS. A B2B SaaS, as I said before, is a play of, like, the term of Salesforce is customer for life. So it's an infinite relationship. And in the end, I need to build more and more and more value as a company to have a bigger offering that I will be able to sell. And again, in AppsFlyer, it's just happened as it was. We are very fortunate that we developed the company like that. And when we developed our offering, we always added a few non-premium features that are already available in your package, or that are included, or we didn't want to charge for them, and a bunch of premium features with a lot of value. And then customer success managers has an amazing tools
Mm-hmm.
to grow the customers, to grow engagement, to grow adoption.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then when a customer gets more and more value, then they are more likely to need one of those premium features as well, and then customers grows. I always have a great examples of customers. We managed the customer in the beginning of 2014. For a long time, 18 months, maybe even 24 months, that customer was $100, $200 a month.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at that customer, 2, 3, 4K a year.
Mm-hmm.
That customer today, and that customer even they had a few. We had a pay-per-use program back then, and
Yep.
some months they would even not get an invoice because it was too low.
Right.
This year they signed an agreement that is over 200K.
Yep.
So this is the B2B SaaS vision. You need to build. You need to serve all customers. You need to build offering that is available for all customers. We have a premium feature that is good for our enterprise customers and cost 20x, but we have it for the smaller customers for 5x.
Yeah, I mean, I think there will be some pushback on that from companies where they sell a complex B2B product and the expectations of the customer is like that you give me everything in that product, right? Or that their value proposition is a solution where you can do everything in this product for a particular business process.
Yeah,
which
that sound more like a B2B SaaS for enterprise only.
Yes and no. I mean, if there are in our marketplace, there are companies which offer solutions for, let's say, fulfillment, for delivery, right? For project management, the delivery of products or services. And it's difficult to break that up because that fulfillment world is one world post-sale, really, between closing the deal and finance. So, but I think the point around like the premium value and really being able to understand what that is, I think that's one of the things that gets lost in translation between, you know, the mission of a business, the way that you market, the way that you sell, and then actually what is realized by the customer. So you've talked a little bit about the things that can be done pre-sales and in terms of the value proposition and in terms of value creation, which is all very relevant. But let's talk about, though, for whatever reason, that there's companies out there right now that are in conversations with customers that are very tough. What advice would you give to those businesses and to, you know, CSMs or leaders of teams around how do you navigate those very challenging conversations, which may be driven from, we're not seeing value, you know, we don't want to work with you anymore, we want to churn, we don't want to spend more money with you. Talk to us a little bit about some of the advice that you give to your team and you would give to others there.
Yeah, so I think it's all around the desired outcomes and how you understand the desired outcomes. Mm-hmm. I think that in the end, customers so someone goes and buys a B2B SaaS service that can cost easily 100, 200K and even more. Mm-hmm. They have a challenge. They have something they need to solve.
Yeah.
So there's definitely some value to sell there. Mm-hmm. And then you must dig into understanding of either the jobs to be done, the desired outcomes, or their pain. Mm-hmm. Maybe they have half a solution, or they see an alternative. So I think, you know, when we speak about that very generic, it's sometimes it's tougher. So there are businesses or solutions, vendors that are fighting in a solution and they are sold in the market. Mm-hmm. And there are other vendors that they are competing with 10, 15 vendors on the same area. So it's very different to understand around that. So that discussion with that tough customer can be on the one side with the sole vendor, can be, I can do it myself, I'll develop it myself. And on the one that is more in a competitive market, it can be like the price is the issue actually, and I want to change. And there we have several different scenarios of things. And this is, by the way, why the relationship is important, because some of those issues where the market is more competitive, you get a new champion that is not in favor of you as a vendor, and they like another vendor, and that's almost end game. So that's it. You cannot do anything. And even there, the relationship aspect is not easy at all.
Yep. Vendor politics.
Yeah.
You talked about relationships. I know that relationships are something that you are a big proponent of. We talked about it a lot in our when we caught up last. Give us kind of zoom out and give us the the relationship 101 view that you have right now, and then let's dig down into some of the more practical elements of this. Like what are you really focused on with your team around relationships, and how does this inform your strategy?
Yeah, so I think with something from when we started to look at that, it's all started from reading a nice article, actually showing a nice drawing of a triangle, and there's the customer main champion, and they develop a relationship with the CSM and with the platform, with the B2B SaaS platform. Now, it was very, it was very inspiring for me to start thinking about, like, okay, so that one line with the product, that's NPS, CSAT, how you like that product, etc. And the line with the CSM was maybe the first time that I understood that, like, we need to dig down, drill down into the contact level, into that line level, and not to the account level.
Yep.
Now, what I'm now building with my ops team on one side, that they are building this, and with my CSM teams, and what I want them to achieve is that when I started to look at the design for this solution, so first thing we looked at is the contact object in Salesforce, and that's a zoo. It should be renamed the zoo contact object. I don't know one company that their contact object is clean. If anyone wants to show me a clean contact object, I would love to see that. And if they have a solution that works above it, that cleans that, then I'm going to be their next customer. But so in my first draft of the first design, the first step of a CSM was to go into that contact object and to clean it. And in average, we have 20 customers per CSM. So every CSM would need to go and to clean 20 accounts, which is like in some of those accounts, every time that I'm working with the teams and I go to one of those contact objects, I see 120, 250 contacts. And it's like, it's a lot of noise.
That's a mess, yeah.
And in the end, what we've built for a very first version of our relationship is a new object that is called relationships, that is under the account, and it's opt-in. Who are your significant relationships that you work with in that customer? So let's say that in the HBO, Alibaba, or Walmart, I have 200 contacts, but on the day-to-day, my day-to-day as a customer success manager, I work with 6 people. I know 6 people. One is my MVP. He's the most valuable. I need to build a new term here. It's MVSR is the most valuable, significant relationship.
Yep.
And then we have additional users. And the first thing that we define is the type of relationship. So if I'm a CSM, it's a CSM to a valuable user, or a CSM to a champion, or a CSM to a decision maker, or a CSM to an executive. And then that's already built a very good map. The next two things that the CSM defines subjectively on that relationship is saying, what is the strength of the relationship from 1 to 5? And also another parameter, another metric is how personal he knows that person. So going back to the strength of the relationship, one is someone that is not responsive to me. It will be very hard for me to get a response from them on email, and I will never get a meeting with them. And one amazing strength is going to be that I will get an answer within the day from that contact, and it will be very easy for me to book a call with them for this week. So that's for the strength of the relationship. For the personal relationship, how personal I know that person, this is more something that I leave for the CSM to decide. And again, with those metrics, I'm not measuring the CSM. I'm building a tool for the CSMs. For them to know how to prioritize the next engagement, who should be on the QBR, who I should invest more time after the QBR and go on the land. And if we a little bit connected to the COVID-19, so one of the things that I believe that we must do after COVID is we will need to prioritize our meetings, because so we will have less time for meetings, and meetings are going to be more valuable or even more costly. But it will be also more appreciated from the other side. So if I'm going to fly to San Francisco for a week in 3 months, and I'm going to meet a company, they will appreciate it 10x that they appreciated a year ago. We need to know how to use those engagements. So it's a new engagement world that we need to now define.
Okay, interesting. All right. So let's talk a little bit about how teams can best prepare for engaging with their key contacts, right? And building a relationship quickly, because that's what most would want to aspire to, right? Is I want to be able to consistently and scalably engage with who I work with, my customers. So what are some of the key things that your team needs to do in order to build those relationships with the client quickly?
Yeah, so actually that's a great question, because this is in progress. So some of the things that we already know is things that we did until now with not having a program. And while now we're building a program, we are looking at some of those things and rebuilding it. So onboarding 2.0, onboarding for tier 1, tier 2 customers, the more enterprise customers, and how we build the relationship even there, in starting from the even pre-sale stage. And in the end, I think that's customer success organization are already doing that. The very good thing in this practice is that most customer success organizations speak about the trusted advisor, how to be a trusted advisor. And I think that there's a lot of things that are super important there in how to build that. So, if you have a customer success manager and they know the product really well, or they know the jobs to be done of the customer really well, they know what the marketeer does. They know it really, really well. So they will get more points on being the trusted advisor. People will want to consult with them more. People will call them. And then I think the onboarding stage is super important. If you say we will do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we do all those points, and we do that in time, I think you gain more points, and then the rest is much easier. So building the relationship in the pre-sale and the onboarding stage, building that trusted advisor credits that you get, is then easing everything after. And I think that the things that I'm speaking a lot in my vision about customer success managers, not to speak about money, not to be commercial, and even not to be measured by revenue, it's very consistent with staying the trusted advisor.
I think there's, you talk about the jobs to be done, and you talked earlier in the conversation about how you've seen these businesses evolve over the last 6 to 7 years, and how business models can evolve. I was at a conference, and The Economist was speaking at this conference, talking about how they see themselves as a tech company now, that the majority of their revenue now does not come from advertising. It comes from a subscription information service and a technology platform. And so what do you also think about the idea that there's a level of domain expertise that your team has to have about not just the jobs that have to be done or the jobs to be done, but the jobs that will need to be done in the future, as potentially the role of the marketeer in your world is changing. Is that something you're thinking about in the future, about how you can be more prescriptive in these are the things you should be thinking about as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's related directly to the role of the CSM and how it evolved. Because when we speak about 2010, 2012, that's more of a support engineer with a new title, and then value came in 2013, 2014. So the main job of the CSM is value.
Yep.
Then now I believe we are in the middle of the era of that CSM now hybrid value relationship actually goes to be relationship success in the future. And then I think that the best people, the best customer success managers, best relationship managers will be the people that will be able to, empathy and sympathy, to be sympathetic with the customers, and really emphasize that they can understand what the other side job is, and to understand their goals and challenges. So I think that when you think about the marketeer jobs to be done, what happened in COVID, and their entire world changed in a day.
Yep.
For us to be empathetic about that and to be there for them, to invest more of our time with them. I think the next thing that is happening, and again, I'm speaking about COVID, but I think that is something that's going to stay with us for the next 2-3 years. I think that the crisis that comes with COVID and the recession after is going to move many people that we work with from current companies to future companies. And it's the most important play that this is why you invested in customer success until now.
Yep.
In order to have the best position for that play to happen.
Yep.
Going back with you to our strategy is market share.
Yep.
And when speaking about market share, that's exactly that. So like if 10% of my marketeers, the marketeers that I have relationship with, something like 50, 60K people, if 10% of them now lose their job, and majority of them, they are amazing people, amazing professionals, and they find a great job. Some of them went to our prospects.
Yep.
In the next 1 to 2 years, I have a huge player for growth.
Yep.
Huge play.
Yeah.
And it's already happening. It happened before COVID. COVID is an acceleration of this process.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that. I interviewed someone, one of our other customers from a software company, and one of the topics we talked about was like, how do you in this period build up longer term assets for your business? And that might not be paying customers right now, but it's paying customers in the future.
Yeah, that's what you said before. That's the relationship capital.
Yeah.
You invested, like in AppsFlyer, we invested in customer success in 2013 to 2020.
Yep.
We hired so many people. We are now an organization, only customer success, 152 people,
yes,
only support 48 people. So we invested a lot in customer experience, if we want to give it the title.
Yep.
But in the end, what you actually invested in is the relationship capital, because you invested in current relationship in current customers, and that relationship goes to other companies, either companies that are your customers or prospects. You actually invested in your future relationship capital, and it goes back to the relationship.
Yeah. So final thought then. So we've covered a lot of ground. This is quite tactical, but I do think is really important, which is how do you, so your team is working with marketeers, right? Now, your customer success team, some of them might have come from a marketing background previously, I would imagine. But for those that maybe haven't, what have you found to be a good way of building that domain expertise with your team and continually reinforcing it? Do you have like an academy internally, L&D programs? You know, what are some of the things that companies can think about doing to build up some of that fundamental customer acumen, is what we call it?
So we have an amazing L&D department.
Okay.
And one of the best in class academies that I've ever dreamed of. So before COVID, we would have 3 points for any onboarding of any employee, and then above it also something specific things that we do in customer success and customer support.
Yep.
But in customer success, so you have your mentor and you have your manager, and when you join, immediately you have the LMS with an online course that follows in the 1 or 2 months after. You have a regional academy that goes either in Bangkok, Israel, or San Francisco, depends on your region. And then you have some closures of these specific things, and it's very tactical to the things that you need to do professionally. Then 6 months to 9 months after you join the company, you come to a global academy in Israel, everyone, and it's more of a week of culture. That is the AppsFlyer culture, and what is AppsFlyer, and then also some closures of things about the go-to-market, about the vision, so in the end, you get an employee after 9 months that are already running and working with customers, but they connected with people from other offices. They know how different offices, different hubs of AppsFlyer works, and they connected to the culture. Which is, it's not, we're not connecting, like it's not the Israel culture, or it's like, in the end, there's a San Francisco office, AppsFlyer culture, there's the AppsFlyer culture and the San Francisco culture, and they merge. In the same, in the US, in the same country, we have the New York culture, which is different. And I think that is one of the best programs. In COVID now, we are working very hard to see what is the next stage of that program. And this worked until 945 employees. Maybe it's not the same program that we need for the next 1,000. But it's definitely, so we already now, since the beginning of the year, we already onboarded 200 employees. And I think that, so those are the first employees that went virtual. And I think that in the end, it's going to be hybrid.
Yeah, so I think that so I think we're at the time, but thank you ever so much for taking the time to join us today. There's a thread through a lot of the things that the way you think, and I think the way that your business thinks, and it's very, very much linked to the long term, having a long-term view and strategy and mindset, which is, you talked about it from where you started, working with those smaller companies that then became bigger companies, and the listening and the journey that you went through and how that influenced both your thinking and the business strategy. There's a long-term investment that you're looking to have your team make in relationships with your clients, both for the relationship right now, but also what that relationship could be in the future. And I think understanding that customer success is a journey, there are some very important components to it. The beginning of that journey, the onboarding being one of them, that the overall relationship capital that you can build over the long term. So I think if I'm taking away one big thing from that today, it's like, think long term. And if you build your processes and your strategies with that in mind, then you will be successful, hopefully, like Ziv and the AppsFlyer team.
Yeah,
wonderful.
Yeah, I'll maybe add one thought here about the long-term thing. Like, I think that, while you said that sentence, I thought about it a lot. Like, bottom line, I think that there's no a lot of value in short term. So maybe there is a place for quick wins. But in the end, what happens now in COVID-19, or what happens now in present for any company, it's what you've built long-term 2 or 3 years ago. And that's why what we need to invest now, it's the long-term of the next 2 or 3 years. And this is what we should invest in.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you for joining us. Much appreciated. And to everyone listening, thanks for tuning in. Cheers, Ziv.